What's up everybody, welcome back to another video. Now who saw Bryson's latest putting video? Right here.
Hey guys, I'm Bryson DeChambeau and today I'm sharing some of my most effective putting tips that have heavily contributed to my success in professional golf.
Everything he said in this video was great, but I'm gonna be honest, I had to watch it 2 or 3 times to really grasp what he was saying. Bryson's a really smart dude and he's really analytical, and for a lot of golfers this is just tough to understand with how he thinks. So in this video I'm gonna simplify it for you, make it a little easier to digest and a little easier to understand. So Bryson talks about 3 tips. The first tip is a double breaker. Now he talks about the inflection point, which is something you do have to find. Putt's gonna break 2 ways and in the middle it's gonna flatten out. So you have to find roughly where that spot is. You don't have to be exact, but roughly. So for this putt here, I think it goes left until about here, and then it starts going back to the right. Now this is important because we're gonna split this putt into 2 sections. Bryson talks about reading this side first. I would actually rather you read that side first. The reason I want you to read this half of the putt first is because this is the area it's gonna break the most. And this is the easiest to understand because we're reading a putt like we normally would. If the ball was here and you're putting that hole, you just read it how you would on every other putt. After reading this putt, I think this putt breaks 8 inches to the right. So we'll take that information and we'll read the putt from the ball to this spot. When reading this half of the putt, you need to remember that this half is going to have the most speed. So if you were simply reading the putt to that spot in the middle, it's going to break a little less than what you think because it's carrying enough speed to get all the way to the hole. Let me demonstrate on a putt that breaks a lot. So in this putt here, I want you to imagine that the hole is the middle of our putt. So this is the first half of our putt. So if I putt it to the spot, which is the hole, the ball breaks quite a bit. But if it has enough speed to get down to the spot where it actually would be,
the ball breaks a lot less in this time frame because it has more speed.
So now we can transfer that knowledge back to this putt. So the first half of the putt until our middle point, I think it breaks about 3 inches left, and then we talked about it going 8 inches right. So I need you to just average that together. 3 inches left, 8 inches right, it's gonna move 5 inches right in total. So all you have to do is plan on aiming 5 inches left of the hole. So let's see how I did. Aim just left of the hole. Goes left. And then it goes right. It was a little short, but a great read. Now the second tip, he talked about grain, and this is really something you gotta focus on if you're down south on Bermuda grass, but if you're up north in bent grass, you don't have to think about this really at all. Now the easiest way to figure out which way the grain is going is to look at the hole. Now if you look down at the hole, you can see this side is really beat up, and then this side of the hole is really crispy. Nice tight edge. So that means the grain is running this direction. Now the other way to figure out grain, which is gonna be tough to see on camera, is if the grass looks really shiny, then grass is running away from you. And if the grass is really dark, that means it's coming into you. Now what does this do to a putt? If you have a dead straight putt, which I believe is right here, I'm not talking about grain, nothing, just straight putt, how it looks and how it feels. So it's flat. So we have a straight putt, and this one, the grain is going to the right. So this straight putt could drift a little bit to the right. Now, if it was really shiny and it was down grain, that just means it's a faster straight putt. If it's into the grain, that means it's going to be a slower straight putt. So it's a straight putt, might have drifted a little right. I also might have pushed it. But now when it comes to putts that actually break, now if we read this putt without thinking about grain, I think it moves about 2 cups to the left. Now because the grain is moving right, it's going to reduce how much it breaks. So we're going to play it about 1.5 cups out. So the grain held it a little more than I thought. Now the reverse happens if the grain is going with the slope. So if this putt without the grain breaks 2 cups to the left, it's going to break more because the grain's helping push it. Now this is just a little thing to remember when you're reading greens on the course. Just look at the grain, look at the cup, add a little bit more break if the grain is going with the slope, and take a little bit away if it's going against the slope. Now the third thing he talks about is the dimples and where he hits the ball with the putter. His goal is to hit the ball on the top and the bottom of a dimple, which means If he hits it a little higher, a little lower, all he's doing is launching the ball a little higher, a little lower, but it's starting on line. If he hits it on the side of one of these dimples, there's a little ridge, so it could launch a little left or a little right, which is just enough to make you miss it on some short putts because there's not a whole lot of speed. This is something I'm gonna have to try out because I feel like I'm a pretty decent putter. And I line my putts up with the logo, which puts, with the line here, the seam of the ball goes right down the middle. So I'm pretty much hitting right on the seam, right on the edge of these dimples every time, which is now making a lot of sense to me because I have hit a lot of putts, at least that I feel like. It's a good putt and it seems to launch just a little off left or right. So this is something I'm gonna focus on. I'm gonna have to change my line a little bit, even though it doesn't match the logo. But we're gonna focus on finding two dimples that go right on top of each other and set those up as middle as possible. So that's the dimples I hit, and all it's gonna do is change launch, not direction. Well, that's all I got for you today. I hope you can use this to simplify a little bit on what Bryson was saying. Again, everything he said was super great, but everyone learns a little differently. He's a super analytical guy, really smart. I'm personally more of a field player, and I know there's a lot of other people like that. So I just wanted to simplify it down for you so you can understand what Bryson was saying. I know the tips he uses works. He's won a US Open, so that's pretty good. Not many people do that. So if you like the video, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.